Okay, I want to get into some real talk. The worst parts of being fat. I want to make this video because I just, want some people out there to know I empathize with you. I used to be this way and I know what it's like. And I also want to kind of build sympathy for anyone who can watch this and relate to your fellow overweight man. Just keep in mind they're going through some shit. And I'll tell you what some of that shit is. So one of the worst things, in my opinion, about being fat is when you get new clothes. It's just depressing, honestly. You go to the fitting room, put on the clothes, and it's just you're like, why am I doing this? They all look bad because I'm fat. They don't fit well. The shirts, if you get a big enough size, they fit fine. Pants, that's a nightmare because the thighs are so thick, the butt's too big. It's just you just can't you just can't fit in there. It's like this is just nonsense. It's just gonna look bad and feel bad. For myself, I don't know if I had gynecomastia, whatever it's called, gyno, the puffy nipple man breast thing, but basically I did had man breast because I was very overweight teenager, as you guys should know. I lost 100 pounds and was a very big teenager and changed from that, obviously. And because of the man breastises, I would pretty much only buy graphic tees. So there'd be a logo, jokes, whatever on my shirt. Not because I wanted to be a haha funny man, but because I didn't want people looking at my breasts, man. I don't want you looking at my boobies, my nipples and stuff. Just look at the funny look. It's a silly thing on my shirt. Look at that instead. So clothes just became uh distraction. I just use them as a distraction more than as clothing because they all looked and they all looked and felt bad. So what's the point? Another thing is you're kind of really self-conscious about being around people. You sit next to people on a train, on a bus, or any setting where you need to sit right next to somebody. You just think, man, this person, I bet they hate me because I'm at least somewhat spilling into the seat. I'm touching them a little too much because I'm too big. I can't shrink. Even especially on roller coasters, the pull down bar, it's just doesn't go quite as far down as you would like it to. It's pretty annoying. You just become very aware of your environment. You just feel like as you're moving about, you'll knock things over. Like, oh man, let me get behind this chair. Oh no, I'm knocking over. Whoa. I'm not putting it back up. It just feels like you're a mess. It feels like you're a mess walking around people. It's just very frustrating. And something I found out when I lost weight is that when you're really fat, people like you less. Now, they're not going to say straight to your face, hey, you're a fatty and I hate you. It was more like when I lost weight, I noticed that people treated me not necessarily like with special treatment, but better, normal. They didn't they didn't kind of not, want to sit next to me or kind of try to get away or whatever. Like a lot of those little, I hate this term, but a lot of those little microaggressions that they did because I was fat, that went away entirely. And I was, as I noticed these things piling up, I was confronted with the fact that, oh wow, there are a lot of people who just straight up didn't like me or they didn't want to be around me when I was fat. Holy shit. Wow, people just straight up like you less when you're fat. That's terrible. So that sucks. Something I noticed after the fact. In addition to that, women as well. I mean, this is a big one. Or men, whatever. But the opposite or same sex, they like you less too. I mean, unless they're into that. But in general, by and large, they like you a bit less. It kind of the extra weight kind of takes away from your attractiveness. Not to say that once you lose weight, you're going to be a total model, but having the extra weight just detracts. It does almost nothing good for you, except in like weird freak situations. Like I think Jack Black would probably be ugly as hell if he lost all his weight. You know what I mean? That's a weird thing. But in general, people just they're not really that much into you if you're, of the bigger variety. And what all that does is mess up your confidence and self-esteem. Even today, I still struggle with that a bit. Just think, oh man, I'm not that great, blah blah blah. It's whatever. Now I've been working on that. You kind of have to do what they say, fake it till you make it. You gotta tell yourself, nah, I'm actually kind of cool. I did all this stuff to move on from where I was at. I'm kind of cool. You gotta kind of own that. You gotta own it and just really not fall to the perpetual trap of staying in that low self-esteem zone when you do lose the weight. But when you do have all that weight, it is rough. You feel like garbage. It's rough as hell, honestly. It sucks. So it really affects the person on a deep level. They constantly feel bad, pretty much. Now, here's maybe the worst part of being fat. Even when you're losing weight, or rather, even if you're losing weight, nobody cares because you're still fat right now. And what I mean by nobody cares is on a day-to-day, let's say you were 300 pounds. It's pretty big, right? But you were at 500. You're kicking ass. You lost 200 pounds. That's crazy. That person sees you as you are now. You're fat. Fuck you, fatty. Okay. That kind of sucks. So, I mean, this kind of applies to most people. You don't know what they've been dealing with. And in this case, when you're a fat boy, fat girl, you're losing weight, you're up here, you're fat, right? You're trying to get to normal. Any time in between here, when people kind of meet you, anywhere between here, you're just a fat person and they don't care about any progress you've made. They just see what they see right there. So that really sucks, especially when you're getting close to your goal. You're like, oh, you're chubby. Man, you should have seen me 2 years ago. Come on. So it's tough. But you got to keep doing it. You got to do it. If you're on that mission, I promise it's worth it. Even with all that stuff, if that doesn't motivate you, then just know that there's some positives. Here's the best parts about being fat or having been fat. You're strong as hell. Okay? When you have all this extra weight, your body has to work a lot to support that. So if you do resistance training, or even maybe if you don't, if you lose, well, you should, but when you're losing weight and you do keep up with your resistance training, you will retain so much strength. It'll be insane. You'll probably have incredible calves too. Wow, pretty decent. Maybe I'm losing some weight. Another good thing about having been fat is that your discipline will be a lot higher than someone else's who hasn't. The person who's, they've been fit all their lives, their discipline will be, on average, it'll be less than yours if you lost like 100, 200 pounds. You're like, I know exactly what it takes to get to where I'm at right now, and I will never, ever go back. There's no way. I know what it takes. I'm all good. I'm good for the future. So that's a positive. Another kind of bonus is you get to redo your whole wardrobe if you care about that. It's kind of cool. You're like, oh, I get to get clothes that fit me now. That's pretty cool. So that's cool, I guess. But honestly, the discipline and the strength is honestly the coolest thing. You feel a lot better, and that will feed into your new confidence. So, yeah, those are the worst and best parts of being fat. It's mostly bad, as you can tell. So, keep going.
Hell yes.